Welcome to the kbbreview podcast. I'm Andy Davies, and we are live at the InstallerSHOW 2025. Thank you.
Woo!
It is very busy here, as you can see, so this will sound like we're having a discussion over a train station PA. But we'll do our best, and there are a few people here as well, so hello, thank you for coming. So today we're going to talk about the most important topic of all at the moment, and that's the health of the KBB independent retailer market, because it's been a difficult couple of years, and we're going to try and see where we stand. So we did a KBB review. We did a snapshot survey of retailers a couple of months ago, and the results were very mixed at best. Nearly a quarter said they're more confident than ever about the health of their business, while 1 in 5 said they are worried or extremely worried about the future of their business. Nearly half said they expected the market to get better before the end of the year, but 15% said they still think the market will get even worse in 2025, if that's possible. So what the hell's going on? Let's try and put some bows on these things. Joining me today, we have some top retailers who have been on this podcast so often that I think you will officially qualify as pundits. So, in no particular order, or in the order I haven't written down. So we have retailer and pundit Trevor Scott from RFK in Rugby. Hello, Trevor.
Hello, Andy. Nice to talk to you yet again, but this time in real life as opposed to in your attic.
Well, exactly. Thank you for coming. We have retailer and pundit Tina Riley from Modern Homes in Leamington Spa. Hello, Tina.
Hello. Nice to see you again.
We have retailer and pundit Luke Wedgbury from Coalville Kitchens in Coalville. Hello, Luke.
Hello everyone.
And we have Liz Pantling-Jones, retailer, pundit, and now fellow podcaster.
Hello.
From Lima Kitchens in Milton Keynes. Hello to you too. We'll talk about your podcast in a minute.
Thank you.
I'm saying you've joined the podcast club rather than being a rival podcast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, regular listeners to this who know these guys will have heard these before, but for those that haven't, let's start with the 10-second overview of your business. Let's start with you at this end, Tina.
Oh, didn't have the microphone. Modern Homes, Leamington Spa, kitchen and bathroom showroom, established in 1968, and I've done it for 48 years.
Yes, you have, a long time. Liz, how about you?
So I'm from Lima Kitchens. We were established in 2006 and have grown and continue to grow ever since.
Trevor?
Okay, so I'm Trevor, and my business is RFK Kitchens, or Rugby Fitted Kitchens, as it's known if you're in Rugby. But we've got showrooms in Warwick, we've got one in Market Harbour, and we've also got a contracts division. So for many of you here at the show today, we're not a million miles away from you. We've been around for about 35 years now.
Luke?
Hello everyone, my name's Luke Wedgbury. I am the co-founder of a company called Coalville Kitchens, based here in the Midlands in Leicestershire. And we also have a franchise business. You may have heard of Kitchen House. We have a Kitchen House in Leicestershire at Lutterworth. And I'm on the board for the KBSA. So get a little plug in there, Andy. Sorry, KBSA.
I don't mind a little plug, Luke. That's absolutely fine. So look, let's start with the most obvious question. You heard the stats from our survey. Where do you sit? How is business for you at the moment? Let's start with you, Luke, at the end.
Tough.
Right.
Business is tough. And I think, and I choose my words wisely because I've been in the industry for 26 years now. And even when the going's good, business is tough. Or when the going's bad, business is tough. So although we are not smashing our numbers in regards to our monthly and quarterly targets, we are getting there, but it's very, very difficult. We're having to squeeze margins. We're having to diversify. We're having to think of new USPs. It's not as easy as it has been, but it's certainly not as difficult as it has been either. We opened up our business, so our core business, Coalville Kitchens, we opened that in 2010 in the middle of a recession. And everybody said, you're mental. Why would you do that now? And we knew that back then we had the enthusiasm and the youth, I should say, to kind of carry it through. So, yeah, listen, it's not great. It's a challenge, but the work is there if you're willing to dig deep and look for it.
Right. Trevor, what do you think? Do you concur?
I think tough's a fair word to use. Market trading conditions are very difficult at the moment. We're doing the numbers, but every month we get to the end of it and we sigh with relief that we've hit the number that we were hoping for. Lead-in times are much shorter than we'd like them to be. We'd like to be on around about 12 weeks. We're lucky if we can get 8 weeks at the moment in terms of a lead-in time and orders. which does mean that we're backfilling months pretty late in the day sometimes. But the orders are coming through. The difficulty is that the in-tray isn't bulging at the seams, and it should be, but it isn't. So we're having to work harder and harder and harder to make sure that we convert that work and turn it into business that's bankable.
Right. Liz, what do you think?
Although I definitely don't disagree with the other two, I'm going to be slightly more positive and say that business is looking pretty good for us. We've got the leads coming in and we are converting them. The struggle that we've got, yes, our lead times aren't as long as we would like them to be, but we are finding it difficult with the growth and coming back to kind of business elements of it being very competitive out there, because not all of our competitors are receiving the leads that we are. So they're cutting prices and we're being asked to do the same. And then just kind of being able to fill it within the small team and the sudden burst of closing of sales that we've had. So just managing that and the project management side of it.
Right, okay. What about you, Tina?
Slightly different story in that we've had to shut the books already this year for bathrooms. So bathroom business is extremely buoyant in comparison to the kitchen business. I've got orders up till October on kitchens and it's fine and it's good and the leads are still coming in. I think we've been quiet the last couple of months because my profile of customer goes on holiday in May and June because they do not want to go in July and August, or they're at home looking after the grandchildren. So I will get another hit of them in September when the kids have gone back to school. But my biggest issue is, what do I do now? I can't say to somebody tomorrow, I can't do your bathroom till next year. So my issue is finding installers to fulfill the work we have got.
Right. So really, we're seeing that mixed bag, aren't we, of challenging and tough, and then maybe just coming through the other side of it. And, you know, obviously different parts of the business are operating differently. And I suppose that's what makes it so tricky at the moment. Predicting and working out what happens next is the hardest part. So one of the things that came out of our survey was about average order value. Everybody's average order value had gone up. But then actually when which, you know, on surface is very positive, but when you dig below that, it was universally pretty much down to increases in supplier prices. So give us an idea of how big an issue supplier pricing is for you at the moment. Let's start with you at this end, Tina. You got the mic.
Well, it's less of an issue than it was during the C word when we were getting, 10%.
That's COVID. That's not the worst C word that everyone's
Well,
thinking
no,
of.
I'm not going to use the other one.
You didn't mean that one.
No, I didn't mean that one, although those that know me probably think I would have done. But we were getting increases almost on a daily basis. So you've got no way of then generalising as to what you're going to do. I mean, you're listening to the news at the moment, slightly concerning as a business owner is what's going to happen. I have just bought an electric car, so not overly concerned about the fuel prices, but I know we're finding we can manage them reasonably well. And we try and be loyal to the suppliers that we use all of the time. So I think then if we do need to negotiate, they are more open to helping because we have dealt with them for X amount of years and stuck with them rather than spread the business out over lots of different suppliers.
Liz, what do you think? Because you're talking about being asked to cut costs at your end and cut prices, and yet supplier prices are going up at the other end, and there's a real imbalance there.
So I think for us, it's the way that we manage it. We come up against a lot of national companies, which is less than ideal, and a lot of different franchises who have more backing to be able to lower and put out offers. So it's just about managing people's expectations and deciphering what our USPs are and making sure that the design team and sales team are confident in what that is so they can deliver it. So it's just been tougher in terms of communicating that, and we've done a reasonable job of fairing most of those price increases and being able to implement them where required. And again, the same with relationships. So because we've had long-standing relationships, we have a lead time on certain orders that we can kind of stick to on the previous pricing. So that always helps and helps drive business as well as balance the books moving forward.
What do you think, Trevor? Prices go up but very rarely come down, do they?
Well, that's very true. Once up, they're up, and that's where it is. I mean, going immediately post-COVID, we had huge price increases coming through on a regular basis from nearly all of our suppliers, and I'm sure everybody around the table here did as well. And it was difficult to maintain margin control because you were quoting at one price level, you were selling at a second price level, and by the time the invoices came in, you were buying at an even worse price level. And you get to the end of the year and your margin just wasn't there. So one of the things we've concentrated hard on over the last couple of years is to make sure that we maintain margin control. Because if we're going to have to work on not a reduced turnover, but just not a growing turnover, then we've got to make sure that turnover itself is profitable. And for a while, it wasn't as profitable as we wanted it to be, whereas now we're back there. So we're doing the cold stare with people now. It's like, no, that's the price. I'm not dropping my pants for you because I need to maintain that margin. Otherwise, I won't be here to service you in 6 months' time when something falls off your kitchen. I hasten to add it won't fall off one of our kitchens, but it's a turn of phrase. In terms of suppliers putting prices up, that's become more manageable in the last 12 months or so, in the sense that it seems to have been controlled, so that it's a little bit more predictable and we can build it in. Our software is keeping pace with the price increases rather than us losing ground with them. So in that sense, we're coping. But turnover-wise, I think we're probably 25% down on where we should be, purely based on price increases since 2021.
Right.
And that's a shocking state of play, really.
I mean, you're nodding away there, Luke.
Yeah, I do. I agree with what Trevor said and the other guys as well. Across our businesses, we have a different take on it. We really don't care about price increases from suppliers. It's irrelevant because if the price of a I won't pick on them, but I'll just mention, if the price of a Frankie sink and tap has gone up by 10% on a quarter to price increase, then so is theirs. So is all of our competitors. So the price is going to be, we're still playing with a level market. But the way we've kind of attacked it is we've made sure that we're super crystal clear on our numbers and our key figures on every single project. And what we've done is instead of going, right, okay, so my wife's our financial officer. Instead of my wife sitting behind her desk and crunching the numbers going, this is the margin that we can sell at, we've shared that with the design staff and said, listen, we know it's a tough market. These are the retail figures, and this is what our software tells us to sell at. But realistically, are we going to sell at that figure? Maybe. It'd be great if we do, but maybe not. Why not look at the figures and go, right, this is where the margin needs to be. It's a certain percentage on kitchens, on worktops, on appliances. If we're happy with those percentages as overall, then great, we're good to go. I think the biggest worry for us was the business rates and the national insurance. That's a huge cost to the business. We're lucky where we own some premises that we trade from, but like most people, we lease premises and we've got lots of staff, and that's difficult. That's difficult to swallow because if you've got somebody who has a corner shop with one display, Trevor and I talked about this earlier, and they're selling the same products, they're probably buying it for the same margin you're buying it. I've got 15 staff to cover. I've got 4 premises to pay for. My overheads are a lot bigger than theirs. That's where it becomes tricky. That's where they're probably going to win the work because they can keep on chopping away at that price until they win it. And we're not really in that market as a race to the bottom. So they're the challenges. That's the most difficult part. Yeah,
it's really interesting, isn't it? And I think, look, these suppliers, they've got their own financial margins to consider, and everyone's part of a chain, aren't they? And it's tough for them too, and therefore they have to cut their costs and cut their cloth accordingly as well. So this came out of our survey. Have service levels and deliveries and reliability from your suppliers, have they suffered as a result of the measures that suppliers have to take to keep within their costs? Let's come back down the line again. Luke, what do you think?
Well, I can honestly say probably not. No, I can honestly say that actually over the past, let's go back 18 months, I've seen more of our area sales managers than ever before because they need the work.
Because you're a pundit now.
Absolutely, because I'm a podcast pundit. Yeah. And they're going, well, your orders are down kind of 5% on the quarter. Is everything okay? What can we do? Are you going somewhere else? Those kind of conversations. So, and I think it's about relationships. If you've got a good relationship with all of your suppliers, especially your key suppliers, mainly your kitchen manufacturers, then they tend to look after you. So we've certainly not seen a drop in service level. But I have heard it. I have heard whispers from mainly distributors as opposed to manufacturers.
And what about deliveries? Everything arriving correct first time?
We're okay so far. How about you?
It varies. Furniture-wise, certain companies are performing better than others. We are getting more remedials coming through from one of our big suppliers, which, bearing in mind the lead times and the turnaround time for remedials, isn't very satisfactory. And words have been had. Whether that bears any fruit is very much dependent on whether another 3,000 of their customers have said the same thing to them. But where we're dealing with smaller companies and we're a slightly bigger customer of theirs, then the service levels are very high. With the appliance manufacturers, no names mentioned, but there were issues all through COVID. Took a long time to sort out. But with rationalised ranges, the service levels seem to be back up there now, and no real complaints from the guys about short deliveries.
Okay, Liz, what do you think?
We've had a little bit of a mix. Some of our suppliers, I'd say, are clearly trying to turn around a little bit more than they perhaps can on their staffing, and we've seen some issues. And I have a suspicion that one of our suppliers has outsourced some of their work where they would usually manage it, and again, some of that product on arrival hasn't met expectations, so has caused more delay and remedial work. But generally, people seem to have stabilised, and we see people more regularly. They get in contact. They're easier to reach than.
It's funny, isn't it? It's funny. As soon as I need the work.
Yeah, they answer their phone and return your call.
You become a pundit. This is what I keep saying.
Sorry.
So, Tina, look, you've been doing this since they invented kitchens.
Okay,
what do you think the levels of sort of supplier service are now?
I think they're pretty much where they've always been. I think it's an industry that if something can go wrong, it is going to go wrong. I think we're quite lucky in that we've picked our suppliers quite carefully, and they will turn things around pretty quickly. We were having a conversation earlier about bathrooms. It's much quicker to get a replacement bathroom product if something's damaged or faulty than a kitchen replacement product that has to be manufactured from scratch. So again, does that make that slightly easier to deal with? They're right about the reps. We've had hundreds of reps in over the last few months. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. The one good thing is it's quite sociable because most reps have probably worked for about 4 different companies. So you know them from each company. So we have a chart. Ones we'll see, ones we won't see. We have a top 10. And if you don't make the list, then you're not coming in.
And number 11 is the C word.
Yeah, they're not coming in.
Okay.
If they're number 11, they're not coming in. But no, I don't think it's any better, worse.
Okay.
About the same.
So we're dealing with the whole chain here. So let's talk about consumers for a little bit, because I think how willing they are to make a decision seems to be an ongoing issue. So I'm going to mix and match. I'll come to you first, Liz, because you're pulling a face.
I think it's a bit of a mix, and what we're finding with consumers at the I want to be careful about what I say here. We're getting a real mix of people. So we're getting people in who are still taking 8-9 months to decide, people who seem to be turning around quite quickly. But the expectation and the attention that consumers seem to be paying to what they're buying has changed for some reason. We're not entirely sure what that is. So they're coming in, they're looking at the overheads, the designs, the figures, but they're not really considering the detail so much. So when we start discussing that, which is after deposit for us, when we start going into the nitty gritty, they're finding it a bit more difficult to kind of, they pay more attention and start questioning what they've bought. And we're finding a lot of people are wanting to make changes after they've committed, which means that it becomes more challenging to manage orders and.
So why do you think that
projects.
is?
I'm not entirely. No, I am sure. I think it's algorithms and people being shown more on social media. So they've been looking at it and then they start getting other things through and other information and other people's opinions, and it's casting doubt. So it's the age-old problem of my sister said this, or I had friends round who said, why are you doing that? And then that is having an impact on what people are thinking. I think there's just
right, so it's
a ray
getting through the noise.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think, Trev?
Well, one of the interesting things with our own business in the last 18 months or so has been that that the customer that is not moving but improving has come back out of the woodwork.
Right.
And the big extensions and the 150, 200 grand projects where we're, sort of 30 or 40,000 pound element of that grandiose project, they have dried up mostly over the last 2 years or so, although they are thankfully coming back again at the moment. Not in floods, but, in a reasonable quantity. Now, those are always slow burns, but you need a number of them constantly on the churn so that, they evolve and become orders, but there's always another 6 or 7 plans lurking in the background for extensions that have been quoted, about to start, whatever else. But the don't move, improve market, Mr. and Mrs. 3 or 4 bed detached, working within the existing space, or maybe just knocking down a non-supporting dividing wall to open up a bit of space, that market has come back really quite strong. And that they are converting fairly quickly, which is good, because when you've not got the lead times that you really want of 10, 12, 14 weeks, and you've got gaps that you want to fill, then if Mr. and Mrs. 3 or 4 bed semi comes in and spends 15 to 20 grand on a kitchen and they want it straight away, then that plugs a gap in the calendar. So it's good business. But you can't really plan ahead based on that kind of business, because it's ephemeral. It's here one day and it's gone the next. What you really want is you want this consistency of lots of projects coming in, churning over, and having a decent lead time on them, and knowing that there's a good pipeline behind it as well. And that's the bit that we're struggling with, getting people to make decisions on that. And it's interesting you say that. The white noise of algorithms off the internet and social media definitely has an influence, because the way it works, people just start talking about their new project and they then start getting overwhelmed with information, and they get very, very confused very, very quickly.
So it takes them a long time to make a decision, Luke, but their attention span is incredibly small.
Oh, absolutely, because
Right.
we live in an instant world, right? We live in a world that it doesn't matter what you're buying or what you're in the market for, your access to the information around that product is endless. So, and I think brand awareness has a big part in that, because what people are scared of doing is if they're using savings, our typical avatar of a client isn't a finance-driven client. It's somebody who has the savings, maybe has the equity, or they have the money, they have the cash ready to go, and they don't want to waste a single penny. So we always use the analogy of buying a car. If you can buy a Mercedes at £39,000 in one garage, and you just put that Mercedes model into Google or AI and say, can I buy it cheaper anywhere else? And they will say, absolutely, you can buy it cheaper here. It's the same with our sector. We're finding brand awareness is really strong at the moment, where we're having clients come to us saying, you do Nobilia Kitchens, right? And you do Hacker. And we go, yes, we do. And we've done it before, where we've said, I've put into ChatGPT, I've asked AI, I'm about to buy a Hacker kitchen from Coalville Kitchens. Could I purchase it cheaper within a 45-mile radius? And the information you get is frightening. It's frightening. And there's no doubt in my mind that's what clients are doing. So I think that stretch of period between doing the quotation and going through that process to them actually saying, yes, I want to buy from you, those gaps, they are looking around and just don't want to. They go, well, I could save £1,000 here, because if I save £1,000 here, that's going to do the cloakroom kind of thing. So, brand awareness and access to information is killing us at the minute, if I'm honest.
But Tina, you're talking about your customers. They're looking after the grandchildren. It's a generational thing, isn't it? Are you finding a similar kind of thing, or are your customers?
Yeah, a
still
little
quite
bit as well, and also I think the bank of mum and dad are generally the typical customer we were talking about earlier, is possibly being bank of mum and dad at the moment and helping out the kids with the mortgage and school fees or whatever. So maybe their funds that they would have had for their kitchen or their bathroom, they haven't actually got. Conversely, that can work the other way. We are dealing currently at the moment with 3 children of people whose jobs I did originally.
Wow, you have done this a long time.
But mum and dad have said, we will give you the extra money to go see Tina and do it once and do it properly,
Right.
rather than go DIY, whatever, and have to do it again in a few years' time. So it's difficult.
But how about that decision-making process then? Is that just stretching out, or is that getting better?
No, we're okay. So what we've concentrated on the last few years is not so much the kitchen that we're selling, because truthfully, we could put 5 kitchen units down here. Okay, not one of Johnny's, but we could put 5 kitchens down there and say, which one is your 1,000 cabinet? And with Egger board and Blum hinges and all the rest of it, we'd probably go, oh, I don't know, I think that could be one of mine. So we are pushing more about us as a company, about the service that we offer. We're not just going to design your kitchen. We do the flooring, we do the radiators, we do the lighting, we do the heating. I work with a blind company, we work with a builder, we work with a window company, we work with a landscaper. Let's do your bit of the garden afterwards. And again, there's not that many options then if customers do want that whole project managed that they can go to, and it kind of stops them going to maybe Wicks's and just getting the units and getting a carpenter to fit them, because that's a really small part of it. So all of our advertising, social media, whatever is pushing, we will help you do that whole project.
Would you say, sorry to interrupt, would you say that that's your USP? If somebody came to your showroom and said, yes, why are you different to say, and do you find, see, that's I would suspect that's most independent retailers' USP. Yeah. But I'm finding it harder and harder to get that message across. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
Probably not, because of course, unfortunately, most of them have either worked with me before or know me.
Great, yeah.
We've got an 85% repeat business board, but you can only do that if you've been in business long enough, to replace a kitchen you did 27 years ago, or replace a bathroom that you did X amount of years ago.
Before I started the business, Tina, I supplied your father. That's how long you did the business.
I know.
Right, well, let's talk a little bit. I'm going to stick with you, Tina, actually, because I want to talk a bit about recruitment. And you were saying that your biggest issue is finding installers. Obviously, we're at the InstallerSHOW, but obviously finding staff in general. How big an issue is that for you? It's
absolutely monumental. So we took on a designer, and I thought the better way of doing it was to have somebody with no knowledge 2 years ago. But then what happens then is there is so much to teach them. And there's no outside help particularly. So they're kind of just shadowing you. When I, many years ago, came in the industry, there was the National School of Kitchen Design. I have a diploma. It's very nice. But nowadays,
stone.
Yeah, chiseled it. I don't think a consumer knows are they going to a good designer or a bad designer. That's the problem. We've recently taken on somebody with some experience of the industry, but again, I'm having she's come from one of the big boys. I'm having to unteach her a lot of what she's already knows. And then as far as installers go, anybody installers wandering around in the local area, come see me. That's a big issue. And apprenticeships, huge issue. I've been in touch with the local college. Can we have an apprentice? Yes, you can have a plumber, but he can't do anything else. Yeah. Oh, well, then we do a multi-skilled one. Oh, I'll have the multi-skilled one. That'll do. When's he doing his fencing course and when's he tarmacking? Oh, he's not. So you've got to go along the lines of hoping somebody's got a son or somebody that's interested. I think within our industry, that's the biggest problem we are facing at the moment.
Right.
But unlike you, when you said there were lots of grey-haired gentlemen, good looking, of course, wandering around, there's quite a lot of young faces out here. I'm quite excited.
Yeah, they're all doing solar panels.
Oh.
Liz, what do you think?
Recruitment is tough. It always is. For us, we do try to employ young people and bring them into the industry. In terms of installers, we've tried to champion them. But when you do that and you put them out there for your competitors to see, inevitably you end up losing them, which is the cycle we're in at the moment. And then if you're looking at the apprenticeship route, it's how you get there. And it doesn't matter how much persistence you have with colleges and apprentices, there's just nothing to kind of deliver that. But also within house, we're looking for people who can do project management. And much like you, we take on the whole project. Finding people with the right experience across the board is really difficult. People know about kitchen products and furniture, or they know about health and safety and building, or they're working on big sites. So that's a big area for us at the moment to kind of fill, especially with the increase in projects that we've recently had. I don't think it's getting any easier at all. And having taken on a new designer, again, just teaching them how we operate and how what they are doing isn't necessarily wrong, but molding them into what you want them to be delivering and making sure that they're giving the message that you want, and the reputation that you've built and the reasons why can be really tricky.
So look, Trevor, shortages equals big wages. Are the demands that people put in, are they, commensurate with their experience?
I'm not really quite with that question, Andy. Sorry.
Well, if there's a shortage of people with experience, therefore people with experience could charge a lot of money, and therefore you've got to manage that.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. The expectations of some beginners within the industry coming in is far greater than reality. One of my installers was advertising for an apprentice fairly recently, and the chap came in and said, look, I want to work 4.5 days a week. I want to finish at lunchtime on Friday. I want 5 weeks a year holiday. I want sick pay. I want a company car. And I'm 2 years out of college with a bricklaying certificate. I was like, right, okay, well, that's going to take you a long way in our industry, isn't it? Clearly didn't get the job. But that's an extreme example, but it's a true story, I hasten to add. And that's one of the difficulties. There's a lot of talent here. I walk around this hall today, and there's a lot of talent out here and a lot of young talent. Are they coming through in the KBB industry? I'm not so sure. Plumbing and heating, definitely. That seems to be where all the action is. But carpentry skills, general skills that relate around installing kitchens, there doesn't seem to be many people who want to put the hard miles in to learn that skill. Yet it's a great career to be in. There's really good coin to be earned out of being a good kitchen installer, not least of which is because there's a shortage of them.
So, Luke, are wage demands unsustainable? You've got 15 people, you said. Is there a point where...
Yeah, there is. There's a ceiling. There's a ceiling that the business can go to, and then that's the pool of people who you're advertising to, and that's it, full stop. And you've got to attract the right people. But I think to answer the question directly, the cost to the business of hiring the wrong person, a small independent business, is astronomical. And I'm going to tell you a story because we've just done this. So we employed a salesperson about 8 weeks ago. So from a recruitment agency, we did the normal recruitment process. So telephone interview, 2 face-to-face interviews, give the person the job. Great. Fast forward 4 weeks, I had to say, it's not working, off you go. This isn't working at all. So then we look back at how much that's cost us. So it's cost us the wages that person was on for 4 weeks. It's cost us the recruitment fee. And then the projects that person worked on, so altogether 11 projects, we believe a 50% conversion rate is where we normally hit. So we would have sold 5 or 6 projects. That person didn't sell any. So if you look at the profit from the things that person didn't sell, we're probably down about 60, 70 grand for 4 weeks. And that's why small independent businesses, they do it once, they get their fingers burnt, and they go, we're not doing that again. We'll just stay this size because it's really safe. So it's a risk. And that I suppose that story can be reflected on both sides of the business. You take on the wrong installer and you give the installer a project to fit and install a £50,000 kitchen and they mess it up. It's on you, the retailer, to put it right. And the cost is you've got to go employ one of your best installers to do it. So they're now no longer installing a kitchen for you that would be making money. It just has it's so difficult. But ultimately, you've got to kiss a few frogs, right? You've just got to keep trying. And the staff that we have now that have been with us for a long, long time are absolutely outstanding, and they're very difficult to find.
And then you've got to keep them.
You've got to keep them, yeah, absolutely. You've got to keep them. You've got to, what is it Branson said? Train them well enough to leave, but look after them so they don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, let's I want to stay with you, Lee, because you mentioned this earlier on. Is there's only so much of the market you can influence, right? There's lots of uncontrollables. And you were talking about you've got to find new USPs, new opportunities, new challenges. So what have you done differently as the market has taken, unpredictability?
I had a chat with one of my ex-marketing ladies earlier, and she said, what are you doing nowadays in regards to what are you working on? So we've always kind of prided ourselves that whatever the market's doing in regards to local competitors, which we don't describe them as local competitors, no one can compete with us, kind of thing, we try and do something different. So you rewind 8 or 9 years, then we were very good digitally. In fact, we were market leading. No one was doing what we were doing. No one was spending on Meta what we were spending. Well, it wasn't even called Meta back then. We were kind of pioneering that and getting lots of leads because of it. Now everybody's doing that. The market digitally is saturated. It's drenched. It's so diluted. It's a very difficult space. So we've had some success with some direct mail leaflets. And had some success with going back into local press. And many moons ago, we had success with radio, and we've just started doing that again, having conversations with local radio people. So I think you've got to be different. You've got to do something that you're maybe the people within your area are not doing. As long as you're different, people will remember that. So that'd be my advice. Do something different.
So Liz, let's talk podcasts.
Thank you.
Tell us about your podcast, because this is you doing something different.
So completely agree with Luke. We started out, we had the monopoly in the area over social media and marketing, and we just can't get business in the same way. A lot of our clients are younger. The market, we don't have those kind of turnover of repeat clients in the same way, and families of the age. And I get increasingly frustrated, going back to the algorithm and social media, with people coming in and telling me how to do my job, how I need to consider lighting, because lighting is so important. And did you see this? I can't take that anymore. I've done it for too long. I'm going to lose my cool. So I have taken the steps to try to reach clients and educate them and help them see that within the independent market, there are people that are undertaking all of this, who can manage it, who can advise across the board, not just on the kitchen and maybe the flooring as well, that we are fully rounded. We're skilled individuals who have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and that there are options to go out there and get that service and better products. So with the Home Improvement Show, what I'm hoping to do is, one, get more business for myself. I'm not going to lie.
That's the name of your podcast, the Home
Improvement. It is Home Improvement Podcast. But also strengthen the market for everyone. My hope is that I will be able to grow a network of people across the country. I'm just going to look at these guys who will get involved, share some of the information. If you agree with anything that I ramble on about in the 20, 30 minutes of the episode, and just help educate people in your area as well. And we will put backlinks in so that people can find you in that area as well.
That's great.
It is. It's really good, isn't it? And I'm always happy to advocate podcasts, obviously. So, Trevor, what are you doing differently with RFK at the moment to drive some business?
Well, the big one that we did differently was last December we parted company with the marketing agency that we'd been working with for 14 years. We felt the relationship had grown stale, and having looked at what was happening in 2024, we felt that the only thing to do was to make some radical changes. The impact was more or less instant, the change that we made, and we've got a lot more connected with the right customers this year than we were getting connected. It got a bit fat and lazy, if I'm honest with you. I mean, we've been going for 30 years. We've been online and we've been on Meta and social media since the early noughties. But we needed to readdress that and to give it a kick up the north, proper kick up the backside, which we've done. Even down to the point now that we're targeting very specific postcodes. We're not just targeting an area or a town or an age demographic or a social demographic. We're pretty much down to individual streets that we're targeting our marketing at, because we know that street, that small zone within a town, is ripe for new kitchens. Leaflet dropping. we're getting into that again, which we haven't done for the best part of 20 years. Local radio worked very well for us when we had it. Unfortunately, we lost our local radio, and that's something I'd like to revisit, but there's got to be the right radio station to do it.
Podcast, Trevor.
Yeah. We're going back into eventing in a big way. I don't mean show horses. We do pizza and bread baking classes. We do wine tasting. We do all sorts of events. Working with Bora, for instance, we're even getting local cycling clubs to come to us as a lunchtime stop on a weekend bike ride, have tea and a coffee and a cake and a cold drink, have a look round, then go off and do the next 50 miles of their weekend's purgatory. And these, we've just sponsored the over 45s England netball team, ladies netball team, and it's just doing stuff that is outside of the normal loop. We're not trying to sell a kitchen, we're just trying to sell a lifestyle, and that lifestyle involves having one of our kitchens, hopefully.
So what about you, Tina? Again, you've been doing this a while.
Yeah, I agree. It's about relationships. So we don't do a lot of advertising. Maybe some of the original print media in small villages where we've done work, but we try and develop relationships with other small local businesses. Right. The industrial estate I'm on, there's 70 businesses. If everybody recommends everybody else and everybody works with everybody else, it helps everybody. We're doing some work at the moment with some charities, and back to networking. And networking can take a long time, but equally, it can be very good. And what you're doing is selling the whole business, or you, or whatever, not just selling a kitchen. I think it's about developing relationships.
It's interesting, isn't it? The sort of panacea of digital seems to be losing some of its shine somewhat. But let's conclude this. I'm going to come down the line. I'm going to start with you, Luke, because I want some short, sharp answers here. I want some good news from you.
Okay, so the good news is you're not alone if you're an independent retailer and you're struggling. That's the good news. And the good news is that there's lots of platforms where you can kind of go and talk to people about it. I mean, it's great just sitting on a panel here and having a one-to-one discussion with retailers who are kind of going through the same pain as you. So a great place for that would be the KBSA conference in September. That would be amazing. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So
what a salesman.
So that would be good. That's my point.
Trevor, good news from you.
Well, the good news is that business is slowly but surely picking up. We're not breaking any records yet. But we're not worried about the future at the moment either. We will still be here this time next year, hopefully having a slightly healthier conversation.
Okay, I like that. Liz, good news.
Business is looking up. It's positive. There are young people coming into the industry if you can find them. Networking is key, and find people to talk to and support you. Don't be afraid of your competitors. Go to them, build that relationship.
Tina?
It's still a really interesting industry to be in. I've never yet woken up in the morning and thought, I don't want to go to work today. There are some days I'm there and I think, I don't know why I'm doing this. But every customer's different, every project is different, everything we do is different. So I still love it.
Well, I can't think of a better way to end it than that. And as always, I think we've completely sorted everything out and now everything's fine. Yay. Thank you so much for coming to share your thoughts with us today. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Luke.